Hi guys, so this week obviously most of us in the UK have had a pretty intense heat wave. Um, it has been pretty tough going with the watering, and last year um, it was obviously hot and dry, but I don't recall it getting much over 25. I think maybe the odd days of 27, certainly not until July, August. But this year, obviously, it's much earlier and much hotter. I think we got up to 35, which in the years I've done this, I've never known us to have 35 degrees. So there was a few things that did suffer, and we have lost some stock because of it. No matter what I did, didn't matter how wet the ground was, shading, it just gave up the ghost. It just hadn't put its roots down enough, because prior to this lovely heat wave, we had 2 weeks of rain. And so, yeah, it just hadn't really put its roots down enough. So, yeah, I have lost a few bits. So that's a bit of a shame. And what I've also found is a lot of things are trying to flower at a much shorter height than what they should be. So my spring sown snapdragons are only 2 foot, and they're already trying to flower. Whereas my autumn ones are probably at least nearly 3-4 foot high. It doesn't make much difference for me because I do market bouquets and shop bouquets. But if you were doing a wedding more, that would be quite frustrating because you wouldn't have the height for the nice displays and stuff. So yeah, fun and games really. I can't honestly say that I've achieved much work this week. I've literally got up, watered, maybe had an hour to get a little bit of panic rush work done, and then just head away through the bulk of the heat wave. Come back out in the afternoon, try and rescue any bits that look like they were going to die, and then go away again, and then come back really late, sort of 8 o'clock at night, and coming out, cutting flowers. And I've had to find spaces outside to condition them because I normally condition them in my garage, and that's just way too hot. So we've got an undercover bit. So luckily, I put a table in there, and I've been able to cut them really late at night and leave them in there. And that seems to have worked okay. That seems to have been all right. We've had a few problems with pests this week as well. So I've had a deer that's ate all of my sedum in my second field, and I've had slugs eat a whole border of dahlias in my own field. So that's really frustrating. So I have ended up resorting to using the sprinkler. This is Dad's one that he used to use on his veg stuff. Now, I don't personally like these sprinklers. I feel like they just water a lot of areas that don't necessarily need to be watered, the paths and everything. But I just couldn't physically get all the watering done by hand. And I don't have any drip irrigation or any smaller sprinkler system currently. This is what I mean about the sprinkler. This has only been on for about 10 minutes so far, but can you see like these big dry patches, which are obviously more on the path, so it's not such a problem. But then you'll just find that there'll be like patches, and normally it is more direct under the sprinkler where they're not hitting, and then you can see that it's not hitting over here either. So yeah, you can put the sprinkler on, but then you still have to go out and check around and see where it's missed, which I'm not sure if it does save any time or not, to be honest. We've just had the biggest thundercloud go over, and it is still going. I think the plants are loving this. Even the dahlias are struggling a little bit in this heat. The ground is pretty dry today. We actually had rain yesterday, but if you look, like, this is the beauty of heavy clay. Like you can see that there is moisture. This is darker. I mean, it's not soaking. It has dried right up today, but yeah. When I put my finger down there, you see that's still quite wet. So there are a few bits which are really struggling. I'll show you them. These were one of the ones that was really struggling. So I've come down and tried to put some shade. We have lost quite a few of these, which is a real shame. But since I've put the shade on, they have perked up quite a bit. And I've re-watered them. But like you can see down here, because we're heavy clay, that there is moisture in the ground. So it's not because there's no water, it's because they didn't put their roots down, because we had 2 weeks of rain, just constant rain. So they didn't need to be putting their roots down, and now they're just struggling to just soak up enough. These are the Rebecca's. These were struggling a bit as well. Not horrific, but just a bit. So yeah, we've put some shading on here, and these look like these have perked up a bit as well. The shading makes such a huge difference. So we've been busy picking tonight for a DIY wedding and also shops. So we've got some gorgeous snapdragons. These are Madden butterflies. The first of a few of the sunflowers, which is crazy. Some lovely Nigella seed pods, they're lovely. This is some green wizard, giant scabious, last of the lupins. We've got some Achillea, some Astilbe, a bit of greenery, that one's dogwood, and some Ami, and some pink pokers. Oh, and a couple of little phloxes that I found. So yeah, hopefully they'll be happy with it all. Looks lovely. So I've been cutting the Astilbe for cut flowers, but also dry flowers. And what I wanted to show you is at what point it is that I use it for cutting for drying. So you can see these over here. You can see this is kind of what I'd call more in bud. And this here is probably about right for drying. But once it gets more to like these, where they're just all up and all fluffy, that's just too far gone. Ooh. That's one of those thingy moths. What are you doing on there? Have we only yet ragwort? I don't have no ragwort. What are these bugs? I've got loads of these in my garden at the moment. Never seen them before. So these like purple ones, these are too far gone. But these lovely pink ones here, I'm just going to go and cut some of these now. So these are lovely for drying. And these haven't fully come out, so these should dry quite nicely. I just wanted to show you this. So obviously, if you look closely, there is a bit of limping and stuff. But this field has still only been watered every other day, even in this 30+ heat. So all in all, I'm pretty impressed. You know, it's 7 o'clock at night. We've had 30 degrees heat all day. My van was reading 34. Yeah, I'm super impressed with this. Achillea gold, looking great. I think actually in a day or two, might come over and start harvesting. I am so excited. I have really struggled over the last couple of years to get these guys to grow. I've given up trying to grow them from... That's actually a separate plant. Can give you a little bit extra water. I've given up trying to grow these from seed. Echinaceae, so just me and them do not get on. These were plug plants I brought, and I think there was 30. And there's only 13 that have actually survived the winter. But when I planted them, they were still quite small. So I'm amazed that even any survived, really, because it was such a horrendous wet winter. But yeah, they're looking really good, and they're putting on some size. These are some green wizards, which I did grow myself. This one's from last year. That one's nice and tall. And then this is this year's, so there'll be about 5 there. Might cheekily put one to the side, get a 6th in maybe. I don't know what's going on here. This is so weird. But every single, so it should be like this, nice little heads, and every single one is like precision cut off. Now, I did see a deer in the field a couple of days ago, and I shooed it out. And I did wonder if the deer has done this. But nothing else in the field at all has been ate. Nothing. Which is really strange because, like, deers and pheasants are not fussy. They will just eat everything. But this is, like, cut, like, really clean. This isn't, like, nibbling. There's not, like, a leaf that's been half there or anything. Do you know what I mean? It's all absolutely clear cut. And then if you look around here, so if you're taking this as the border, and if we just walk around this tree, there's a sedum from the previous owner, which is absolutely massive, and I can never get to it because it's really overgrown. But all the heads are absolutely fine. So if this was a deer, why would the deer not have ate them, but ate every single one out my border and not touch anything else? So I've come down and I couldn't understand what was going on with my dahlias. I was like, why are they not sprouting? And then when I came down and actually looked, they've all been eating off right down to the stump from slugs, I guess. But you just wouldn't think that you'd be getting slugs in this 30-degree heat. It's crazy. So what I've done is I've come up with a plan. I did do this last year and it kind of works. So I get some plant pots and I put duct tape over the holes, and then at night I come down and just cover them up. Now it doesn't stop it completely because sometimes they can get under and sometimes the slugs live like right in here. But I've been doing that for the last couple of nights. Now this stuff here, this is called Slug Gone. This does work as well, but you do have to put a really thick circle of it around, and it is quite expensive. There's actually 48 dahlias in this border, and up until a couple of days ago there was just no green here at all. So between the pots and the slug on, it's beginning to work. We're beginning to win back some of the dahlias. Now you can see there's a couple that just aren't, but like these here, they are beginning to put some shoots on. Now once they get to a certain size, the slugs aren't going to really affect them too badly, so hopefully. But these are obviously now really behind, and these were meant to be my first wave of dahlias. My ones at the top were meant to be the ones I'd carry on until October, and it's not looking like that's going to happen. Operation Dahlia Protection, Day 5. I'm just been walking around both of the fields really, and having a look, and I think next week it's going to be very much trying to catch up with the maintenance work, trimming, mowing, weeding, all of those kind of bits. I really can't believe how tired I feel from doing like nothing all week. Like just the absolute bare minimum amount of work, and I can't even remember the last time I'd done this little amount of work. But so I am kind of glad that heat wave's over, and yeah, next week I think it's going to be getting back and doing catching up with all the maintenance and stuff, and also we're going to have to repit some of the seed trays going because a lot of them have failed in that heat as well. So yeah, a lot to catch up with next week. I think next week we'll be looking to do a photo shoot of the flowers, freshen up the website and get that one back active as well. So that's exciting.